I will never forget my friend's reaction who had never seen a Star Wars movie, seeing that scene. And it's not when he turns his lightsaber on, when I got that reaction from that person. It's when the kid backs down and he's like, holy shit, this guy is gonna kill me. Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, was written and directed by George Lucas. We finally see the tragedy of Anakin Skywalker, the chosen one who actually joined the dark side. And that's a word that is used a lot to describe Revenge of the Sith. Dark. But a lot of people forget how fun this movie actually is. The first action sequence, it's a lot of fun. And there's a lot of banter between Anakin and Obi-Wan. But it's not just that. It's not just fun. It actually develops characters. It actually sets up some story beats. We set up the secondary villain of this film just with the action sequence, that is Grievous. The other movies set up the secondary villains like half point of the films, and they didn't have that much character development. The action sequences, like I said in my Attack of the Clones review, were very empty. This time around, the action sequences feel necessary, way more necessary than the other two movies. The Anakin and Obi-Wan versus Count Dooku lightsaber duel ends with Anakin cutting Dooku's head, influenced by the Emperor, which is the first taste that we have of Anakin turning into the dark side. And right after that moment, Obi-Wan is laying on the floor and the Chancellor is like, leave him, Anakin, we have to go. And Anakin is like, nope, which sets up that Anakin doesn't care about the Chancellor's words as much as his friend, which is so heartbreaking for what happens in the entire film. So this action sequence is a lot of fun. The way that Anakin lands half of the ship is just very entertaining. Like I said, there's a lot of banter and there's a lot of iconic lines.
This is where the fun begins.
By the way, the Jedi fighters from the opening shot are my favorite Star Wars spacecrafts, without a doubt. I always wanted them as a kid and I never got them, but they're a lot of fun. And when I was watching them in the theater in the 20th anniversary re-release, it was insane, and I got a lot of nostalgia just right off the bat. After that sequence, we get into Cursant. Once again, there's a lot of talking scenes, but this time around, it feels way more important. It feels way more consequential, like something's about to happen, really. The first talking scene with Padme and Anakin actually feels way more important than the other talking scenes that they had in Attack of the Clones that didn't work. This time around, there's drama right off the bat. Padme is actually pregnant, which means that they're gonna have a very difficult life ahead of them. And really, just with this scene, there's more emotion with these characters, and that's insane. That being said, there's still some dialogue scenes that don't work. There's still some lines that don't work, but everything has way more purpose than the other two movies, without a doubt. And yeah, there's a lot of continuing scenes with a lot of talking, and a lot of them have establishing shots. In fact, I think all of them have a lot of establishing shots that are completely unnecessary. Like, we go into the Jedi Temple, there's an establishing shot. Okay. Then we go to the Chancellor's room or whatever, or headquarters, and we get an establishing shot. And then we go back to the Jedi Temple and we get, once again, an establishing shot of the Jedi Temple. And it's like, that's completely unnecessary. We already know how the Jedi Temple is. And this slows the pacing a lot unnecessarily. And I'm not saying that Revenge of the Sith is the only prequel that does this. This film, actually, like I said, there's more purpose in every single scene. And the way Palpatine manipulates Anakin to turn into the dark side, the way that he speaks to them, the things that he says for him to doubt on the Jedi Order is very interesting. And the Jedi are not perfect. They make a lot of mistakes. The Jedi were set up as these perfect heroes from the original trilogy. In the prequel trilogy is the first time that we actually explore how they were in their prime. And they were very flawed, and they had a lot of mistakes, and they were very arrogant about them. And that's something that a lot of people didn't expect and didn't like. But prequel fans that grew up with that trilogy actually can have a lot of discussions as they become adults, which is something that I have to say. The prequel trilogy creates way more discussions than the other two trilogies. There's a lot of things to explore in this world, and yeah, there's a lot of discussions with quality, but like I said, the world is just very compelling and very interesting, and it becomes even way more interesting in this film. We have the opera scene when Palpatine tells the story of Darth Plagueis the Wise to Anakin Skywalker. It's one of the best scenes in Star Wars. And Ian McDiarmid as Palpatine. Without a doubt, this is his best performance in the entire saga. His character is very compelling, his character is very interesting, and like I said, very manipulative. And there are times that you're like, he's not that wrong about that. The Jedi are not perfect, and he creates that doubt that Anakin Skywalker also has. And that's genius. The way that he manipulates the whole Republic field in Coruscant is genius. Just with Anakin Skywalker is enough to create this empire from the ashes of the Republic.
So this is how liberty dies. With thunderous applause.
We understand Anakin Skywalker in this film. We understand all of his feelings, and Hayden Christensen is great in this movie, by the way. There are some lines and there are some moments that he's not that perfect, and I've talked about that in the Attack of the Clones review. But there's a lot of moments that he doesn't say a single line, and you understand with his face. You completely understand what he's going through, and you care about him, which is insane for the things he does in this film. Obi-Wan gets side quests as he did in Attack of the Clones, but this time around it's actually fun. We explore Obi-Wan's trust in the clones.
Wait, I think you'll be needing this.
The moment where Anakin is looking at Padme from the Jedi Temple is very mature, very powerful. You understand the feelings of both characters. You don't need a single line in this film to understand that, which is insane. It's insane that this prequel movie has that, actually. Good visual storytelling, or at least powerful visual storytelling. But from the moment Anakin chops off Windu's arm and Palpatine kills him, from that moment on, Revenge of the Sith is unstoppable. Anakin gets into Jedi Temple in this fucking awesome scene with the clones behind his back, and oh my god. Whew. Oh my god. Holy shit. Holy fucking shit. And the music, John Williams' music in that scene, which is something that I haven't discussed that much in the Star Wars reviews, and that's John Williams' music. When it's about the prequels, probably this is kind of a hot take, but I think John Williams' score in the prequels is the best in the entire saga. The Duel of the Fates, Anakin and Padme's romance score, the whole Revenge of the Sith score, the Order 66 sequence is cruel. And it's a very important moment in the Star Wars universe. The way that the clones turn against the Jedi, the way that the shooting and the screams sound, like is this like nightmare, and it's just insanely powerful. Like I said, John Williams' score throughout this whole sequence, and the way that it's cut is just perfect. It's just perfect. It's not centered once again in establishing shots. We get into the thing. Something that I noticed with the release of Revenge of the Sith is that this is the only Star Wars film that feels like an actual war film. A lot of people said that about Rogue One when it came out, because there's a lot of battles in that film and anti-heroes. This is the only one for myself that feels like that, because war is about cruel and unfair moments where good people turn into monsters. There's a lot of betrayal, and obviously, yeah, the Star Wars is here. The battles are here, but the movie's focus in the internal struggles, in the war inside Anakin's feelings and choices. Obi-Wan finds out about Anakin's dark deeds, and the delivery is not that perfect.
I can't watch anymore.
There are some lines and there are some performances in Revenge of the Sith that still don't work. A lot of it, you can tell that it are the lines, because when the characters are not talking and they're just like showing their emotion through their face without saying anything, it's mostly perfect acting. I actually think that George Lucas loves visual storytelling, but I think he doesn't believe that he's good at it. Because when you see A New Hope and the prequel trilogy, all the moments that he uses visual storytelling are very powerful. But there's a lot of moments that he uses dialogue, because he fears that the audience will not understand what he's trying to say through visuals. And any filmmaker can tell you that when they feel forced about doing something, they don't do it in the best way possible. So when Lucas feels forced to bring dialogue, to make people understand some characters' feelings, it doesn't work. And a lot of that happens in the prequel trilogy. It doesn't happen that much in this film, thank God, but there's still moments that are like, that feels like wooden acting, because the delivery and the lines are very wooden.
Senator Organa, my clone troops turned on me. I need help.
Like I said, Revenge of the Sith has a lot of powerful moments with visual storytelling, and one of them is Anakin turning his lightsaber on two slaughtered kids. I will never forget my friend's reaction, who had never seen a Star Wars movie, seeing that scene, and it's not when he turns his lightsaber on when I got that reaction from that person. It's when the kid backs down and he's like, holy shit, this guy is gonna kill me. That little moment, you could hear it, the whole theater, and there was a lot of people. You can tell that there was a lot of people who have never seen Revenge of the Sith in that theater, and they were shocked, and they were just like, I love those moments in films, and there's a lot of moments in Revenge of the Sith that are like that. This microsecond moment when he screams out of pain, because you can tell that he's been killing a lot of people. That little moment in Revenge of the Sith is one of my favorites in the entire saga. Obi-Wan tells the truth about Anakin to Padme, and once again, John Williams' score feels so tragic, and like, man, like that moment, it's so heartbreaking when Obi-Wan says,
Anakin is the father, isn't he?
like I said, after Palpatine kills Windu, Revenge of the Sith is unstoppable. It feels like the world is ending. You know that type of feeling that you get sometimes day by day or some movies, when maybe the world is not literally ending, but it feels like that because something horrible is happening, something very consequential, it's happening, something that there's no going back. Even if he gets redeemed in Return of the Jedi, he already did this, and you cannot go back to that. Mustafar is one of my favorite Star Wars planets. I love the way that it looks. I love the fact that they took a lot of stock footage from Mount Etna, which is something that I haven't mentioned that much about Revenge of the Sith. When I was watching in the theater, I was surprised also by the effects. The effects have improved a lot since the previous two prequels, which is something that I was very happy to see. A lot of the effects still hold up today, which is insane. Padme confronts Anakin. He screams at her, "Liar!" That moment in the theater was so good. He chokes her. I mean, the fact that his wife is the first person that Darth Vader chokes is just so dark. And we get into the fight. We get into the Anakin versus Obi-Wan fight, and oh my god, this fight scene, the choreography is perfect. These two actors doing these stunts, again, is awesome to see this in the prequel trilogy. A lot of the actors doing their own stunts, it's so cool. And there's a lot of motion with the characters. It's not just fun moments between them fighting with the lightsabers. There's a lot of motion coming from Anakin's face, the hatred that he has on Obi-Wan, because even though he loved him before turning to the dark side as a brother or as a father, like he said in episode 2, there was always a part of Anakin that hated him because he felt very restrained by this person who was also very loyal to an imperfect Jedi Council. But the Anakin and Obi-Wan battle wasn't enough, according to Lucas, because we needed also a battle between Yoda and Palpatine. And it's so awesome, just from the moment Yoda enters the room. What else can you ask? Obi-Wan ends up chopping Anakin's limbs, and I had a little girl next to me who probably have never seen this film, and she was like, and looking at her mom like, Obi-Wan's emotion in this scene is probably Ewan McGregor's like best performance, which is insane, the fact that his best performance is in this film, and at the same time his worst is also in this film.
I can't watch anymore.
And that's very Lucas-like. But he is very good in this scene. Hayden Christensen on the ground. You can see all this suffering. And that's not enough. He gets burned alive. We see him screaming and burning alive. We see even blood. Where was this in the sequel trilogy? Where was this grittiness in the sequel trilogy? Padme dies, giving birth to Luke and Leia. At the same time, the birth of Vader is also happening, and the moment Anakin looks at his mask, that reaction, that little reaction, that's why you love movies. Because of those little moments, you love movies. Yeah, the big and large moments where Anakin and Obi-Wan are fighting each other or yelling at each other, also, it's very important, it's very cool, but those little moments give a lot of three-dimensional aspects to this story and the characters. Those moments are not enough. those little moments complete everything. The last minutes are an epilogue that connects the whole 6 films, and again, it's very cool to see that, to see how Leia ended up in Alderaan and how Luke ended up in Tatooine. The one moment I get angry at Revenge of the Sith is the ending, because this film is so good that every time I watch it, I don't want it to end. It's a very powerful and impactful film in Star Wars history and film history in general. It has shaped a lot of generations, including mine, and it had one job. Lucas had one job with this film, and that's putting us inside Anakin Skywalker's head. And he went beyond that. I'm gonna give Revenge of the Sith a 9 out of 10. Through the months of April and May, I'm reviewing every single Star Wars film in the episodic saga. We already finished the prequel trilogy, now we're going to the sequel trilogy, where I'm sure will create a lot of interesting discussions. So I'm looking forward to that, and you should look for that. And by the way, Hayden Christensen showed up before the film in the screening, and it was very powerful to see him like there, you know, presenting the film in its re-release. It's so cool, like the fact that we have gone so far in his appreciation of Anakin Skywalker, because like I said in Attack of the Clones review, he's Anakin Skywalker. So it was like very nostalgic to see him, and a lot of people, when they saw him, my brother, he was like, and he was so happy to see him. And I want to see more movies with him, because I think he's a good actor. He definitely is a good actor. You should see a lot of movies he's made in the early 2000s outside of Star Wars. He's very good in them. So yeah, thank you for watching like always, and take care of your time.